we send out a bunch of rice to Africa, we might put the rice farmers in Africa out of business. Might create more of a problem than we're trying to solve.
Well, I'm sure you don't send over a box full of $100 bills to Africa right about now. That might not work out too well. You know, buy a lot of guns with that shit. Who knows what with that?
No, you don't want to do that.
And if you send over rice, like you just said, well then what, you put a bunch of rice farmers out of business. So maybe just stay the fuck out of their business.
Yeah, it's more complicated than it seems on the surface, I think is the problem. And that's how so many issues are in life, where people want to help and they have the right idea and they have the good feelings about it.
Yeah.
But they don't think it through, and they don't think about the consequences. And I'm glad this is a great real-world example.
Yeah,
These
right.
piles right here, where people are really just, I mean, look at all that work. Look at all those sticks, dude. Like, look at how much work. And if they would have known, you know, they might have been able to be convinced to, like, do it properly, right, and go put it out in the middle of the field up here or something.
Well, yeah, and you know what's funny is all it would have taken is one person in the whole group to have some knowledge of what they were doing.
And confidence to be like, look,
and
this is really
confidence
what
to
needs
step
to be
up
done.
and say, hey, here's what needs to be done. How often is that the case, dude? Pretty much, you know.
Yeah, but it's people trying to help and being very adamant about their helping and fucking things up, basically.
Well, you end up with a tinderbox at the foot of a lot of nice trees that now, when it catches on fire, the fire burns longer, has more of a chance of catching the bigger tree on fire, and you've caused more of an issue than you were trying to prevent. So you can clean up the area.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's the same with the welfare state.
Right.
It's really the same thing. Where you got to take care of the hungry children, you know. It's like everybody knows that one person, those few people, where it's like, man, they really need help. They really deserve help. It really helps society to help those people, like those smart, capable people who are just a little down on their luck. It's like, let's help those people. But
well, yeah, I've taken a little help myself more than once, you know.
Well, yeah, I grew up poor. My mom had food stamps. I ate food that the government provided. You know what I mean? I mean, I understand. But
that's not the goal.
I think, and it's like, you know, the people in Africa, when you send rice over to Africa, and like that, some of the rice is legitimately going to be eaten by people who didn't have enough food. Those people too, if you ask them, are super stoked probably, and they're not thinking it through. And they're like, "Oh my God, yeah, we're so grateful that you brought the rice, and you know, this is wonderful, and yada yada." And everyone is super stoked on it. And in the short run, you save some lives. And you know what? Maybe there is a place. I'm not saying don't send any rice. I'm just saying people aren't thinking of the consequences of that at all, right? And maybe there's a place to help them in some way. I'm not saying don't help, but I think there's different ways to help too. And it's such a complicated issue because you can do other things, right? Instead of just sending rice, you could maybe try to encourage business and farm creation over there, right? And have people grow more rice in that country rather than you just sending them rice every time they have a natural disaster or something and they're starving already, and then it's like, oh well, geez, we got to get these people a lot of food now. You know, it's important now. It's like, well, how about us? You know, we instead of just band-aiding the problem, make ourselves feel better, and kind of hurt them likely.
Pretty sure there's a parable about that. You know, teach a man how to fish. I mean, can't we?
Yeah. No, it's excellent.
We're putting people on other. We're putting drones on other planets right now. We can't, you know, teach Africa how to help Africa learn how to produce all of its own food in a sustainable way. I think if that was the goal, we could knock that out. I just don't know if that's the goal. You know, it needs to be. You know, I don't see why we can't do that. Why isn't more talk about that?
Well, and more talk about the sustainability aspect of it, right? And how do we kind of get Africa to be a productive, happy, sustainable country?
Part of the world.
Not just like, well, it's white people's fault. We're not doing enough.
Well, that doesn't
you don't have enough awareness, Willie. I mean, because the real problem is like just not enough people know about Coney. Right? You don't know if you remember that, but it was like Coney 2012. It was some African dictator, warlord, who everyone thought they would stop by saying Coney for president as like a satirical joke. It was big on social media. It was like Coney 2012. There's bumper stickers and stuff you still see sometimes. Coney 2012. And yeah, that's kind of our or a big part of our culture's answer to these problems is to just whine and complain about that we just kind of have this general idea that it's bad and we're doing bad, and if only more people knew that, man, only more people were aware. You just need to, get woke, sheeple, right?
Yeah.
But
that's where we're at. That's
and,
where we're at. And I think, that applies to so many parts of what's going on right now. Man. I mean, with the immigration issues, with the pipeline issue that I know we want to talk about eventually. But this white guilt thing, or whatever it is, that makes us think that we need to apologize for things that have happened in the past, that, to be honest, we're lucky to be sitting where we're at. How the hell do you think we got here? That we drove here in a nice car running on gas, okay? I'm very thankful every day now to get to work smoothly, to go see a lady friend and do the things I want to do, go to the beach, all in a gas-powered vehicle that's at a fairly reasonable cost, could be cheaper. And had we taken oil from those places we've invaded recently, had we pumped the oil out like I was saying when I was in the military we should have, I remember being over there, being in Saudi and being like, hey guys, have we not backed the boats up and started pumping the oil out yet? I mean, why are we here? I mean, we know we're here for oil, or at least to stabilize oil prices.
Well, that's what Trump said, and I'm glad.
And I know that's what I was going to segue into.
Is we went over there and we did all this time, and we lost all these lives, and we killed all these people, and what do we really have to show?
And gas has jumped up double in price.
And gas is higher in price, and we don't have really a solid supply of oil, and we're still kind of right. We still have to get oil from other countries, and it's sad.
Well, right, and I tell you that's why I'm stoked about the Trump situation right now in general. It's such a valid statement that we should have profited more from these lives that we've lost and these wars we've gone into. We didn't. We're still paying for gas. I remember hearing when I was in Turkey that the nationals there didn't even pay for gas. Like, they got huge discounts, if not free gas for the most part. Well, then how are my friends and my people going up there and dying to stabilize things, and I'm paying $3-4 a gallon for gas still?
Because they're willing to put a pipeline in their country for one.
No doubt about that.
Exactly. Kind of an interesting, just to kind of circle us back a little bit, thinking about the parable of give a man a fish, teach a man to fish, etc., etc. I think that this is one of those instances where people just kind of skim the surface of this parable and think about it a little bit and think that they have all there is to know. And it's like, oh yeah, it's better to teach people than just give people something one time. Yeah, I got it, boom, done. But I think that there's a lot more there. And I think that one of the aspects of the parable we don't think about is the potential very serious negative repercussions to just giving a man a fish consistently and not teaching him to fish and not enriching him with that knowledge, not even giving him the potential, but just kind of like clockwork every day be like, you know what, we're going to have a fish show up once a day for you on an EBT card. Oh wait, no, sorry, I broke my analogy. But we're going to have a fish show up once a day for you. You know what I mean?
No doubt. And, I smell what you're cooking.
Yeah,
I do. Yeah. Continue, yeah.
Well, and I think that it's, again, it's something where there's people in society where it's wonderful and we need that, and I don't hate the system. I don't hate the ability to have a safety net, but I think when there's no criteria and you basically just set up a stand in your village, it's like, it's not free, teach you how to fish. It's just free, one fish per day per person. Everybody, I don't care, whatever. You just get a fish. Everybody, nobody, doesn't matter. Come up, anybody. You know what? Doesn't even matter if you're from this country. In fact, doesn't even matter if you're from this village. Just come up, get a fish.
We got fish.
Well, you know what? We got fish for everybody. I'm sure this is going to work out great. Seems like we got plenty of fish.
Why not?
Anyway, and so what? Yeah, as we start to say it like this, I think the things in the parable I'm talking about become more clear. It's like, oh, there's potential negative consequences for everybody. And right now, and the village, right, where there's negative consequences for the village, and like, oh, they might hurt their fish supply, they might start to go out a bit, right, blah, blah. There's also negative consequences for the people receiving the fish, right? Not everybody. Some people will just they're already living a good life. They just are taking. They're like, oh, I get a free fish, whatever, and they go, fine, free fish. They're stoked. Doesn't hurt their life, right? But there are people who are hurt by the free fish. There are people who have never learned to trade and are kind of at the point in their life where they're struggling and they're like, oh geez, how do I contribute? I'm not sure what to do, right? Maybe I should become a fisherman or something. Maybe I should do this. And then instead they say, oh geez, did you know that there's you can just go down to over here and get a free fish? And they're like, oh, I didn't know that. And they go and get a free fish, and all of a sudden that need, that drive in them, that desire to go out and, man, I should learn some stuff, I should do some stuff, I should go see what I should do. They literally now have a full ass belly, and they can just kick back and chill and maybe talk to this girl over here and just, have a good ass old time. And in the short run, it seems better for everybody. But in the long run, I think you're going to run out of people who can fish. You're going to run out of people who can teach others to fish. And all of a sudden that system collapses, because what happens when the dude who's giving away free fish dies? What happens? Is there a guy to take his place? And maybe there is. But then what happens when he dies, right? And at what point is there so few people who know how to provide instead of being provided for that the thing collapses and there's no more fish to go around? And then what happens? Well, then the fall of Rome happens, right? And then that's the collapse.
Well, shouldn't we just take all the
society.
fish from the good fishermen? Shouldn't we just like grab their fish and tie the gunpoint? And isn't that the play? Isn't that the obvious play?
Well, that's not right.
No.
Well, the problem is all the fishermen who just have too many fish. They're too good at
they should
fishing.
just hand those fish over.
Those guys who are too good at fishing need to fish for everybody else.
I'm not really a fisher type of guy.
I mean, I'm not good at fishing.
I'm more of a skier.
Yeah, so they should fish for me, to be honest.
No, well, I remember you told me one time when I was trying to train my knee, I trained my knee, lifting and stuff, I asked you about putting on a brace. And, it's like, well, if you don't need a brace, you probably shouldn't wear it. Because it weakens, you become
reliant.
You become reliant on it.
You become reliant
and you end up
on the
handicapping
brace.
yourself.
It's hard not to.
So I think whenever you show compassion when it's not due, you're actually handicapping the person you're trying to help.
Yeah, well, it's this is an interesting kind of topic segue, but to me it really makes me think of affirmative action, things like that. Where, I mean, it's a big leap to make. We talk about all kinds of stuff here, but I mean, yeah, affirmative action is talk about giving people a little head start in the race, and just being like, oh yeah, you're supposed to start up here. All the other kids start back here, but you can start here, and this other minority can start up here, and they don't even have to say anything else, and they probably say a bunch of positive stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, and you're such a boss, and it's a wonderful race, and everyone loves what you're doing, but people and children are smart, and I think when everyone else is starting here at the regular start line, and you have to be taken a bit forward to start closer to the finish line, in your brain it's like, oh, I must be slower. I must not be as good at the race.
You have literally had your expectations lowered for you.
You really have.
By the adults in the room
really
that you're supposed to be trusting, to teach you the right thing, and they've just lowered your expectations of yourself and shown everyone around you that they shouldn't expect that much either.
That's what affirmative.
And that's a
action
heck
is.
of a thing to do to a kid. That's a heck of a thing to do to anybody. Not healthy. So.
And another topic segue, what that makes me think of next is feminism and women. And is that what women are asking for? Is it just that we're not helping women by starting them forward in the race enough?
We want you to stop manspreading.
Women want me to stop manspreading, right? And women are so angry that they're not.
Oh boy, don't do that.
That's when you spread your legs apart.
Oh, it's a thing now.
Legs too far apart.
On South Park
We're
right
probably
there, I'm pretty
manspreading
sure.
like crazy right now. And I mean, look, all the women that might want to sit here are now, I'm infringing with my patriarchy, dog. Shit.
But don't manspread, bro. Jeez, oh man.
But no, it makes you think of like, women are all, we only make 77 cents or 88 cents or whatever the figure is that they think. It's literally like they're being robbed by men in the office. And so I would ask, like, is that what you guys want? You want the same affirmative action type thing where we give you some additional money? Basically, we start in the race that is everyone just freely competing for jobs. We say, okay, you guys can start a little bit further forward, right? Because you need a helping hand. Is that what it is? And I'm sure feminists would tell me, oh, well, we need a helping hand because you're oppressing us with the patriarchy and the racisms that's been around forever. And I think that's total bullshit, right? I think when you have females at the top of many fields and you have female CEOs and you have a black president, I think these claims are bogus. And as people who we need to start recognizing are just reaching for the victim card because it affords them a lot of privileges. And we need to recognize that, is that, man, yes, some victims are victims, and, we should treat them carefully and with kid gloves because, they were just raped a million times or something. And some people are just claiming the victim card because it makes their life easier.
Well, path of least resistance,
those
bro.
people,
Path of
man.
least resistance, always most appealing. And if we keep providing that for people when we don't need to be, we're going to keep running into the same problems over and over again in so many different areas. And so this is a very big thing in every topic we talk about, it seems like. So, yeah, it's got to be addressed at some point, man. At some point.
Yeah. Yeah, so many seemingly unrelated but very related issues to recap, I think. That you have feminists bitching about the wage gap, not making enough money, right, being held back. You have minorities being like, our lives matter, man, we need something, we're not sure what it is, but, like the video with the chick with her 12 kids who's like, someone needs to take care of my children, Someone needs to pay for all my suffering.
And she means it.
She's like, I deserve it.
And she means it.
And she's shocked that she's getting as little help as she is. Because the reporter's like, well, don't you get some kind of state benefits? Don't you get some kind of help? And she's like, well, yeah, but it ain't enough.
Ain't enough.
Well, maybe you shouldn't have had 12 kids. And I think at
Maybe.
the end of the day,
Just
that's
maybe.
one of the hard things is like, in order to help people, and in order to solve the thing we're talking about, you might have to start kind of not giving people that one fish a day. You might have to, there's certain people, and overall, you're going to have to kind of pull that back because that encourages people to be fishermen. And don't just starve people to death, but, let's be like, hey, let's encourage people to be fishermen.
Well, society's been padded now for so long, and so held, the harshness has been softened for so long now that I think the change it's going to take, and that friction at the time of change, whenever we do cut back, whenever we do finally say that's enough, there's going to be consequences. It's not going to be easy, smooth rolling for some people. And it's going to be a big shocker for some people.
Yeah.
Just as the people who, had to harvest their own fields after slavery got abolished. The people who had to come up with, gas-powered turbines and gas-powered harvesters and all that, those people who had it hard for a while when times changed.
Yeah.
Well, that's the kind of change we're about to go through. We're about to go through that groundbreaking of a change, hopefully, moving away from big government and government programs and moving more towards where we're more responsible for our own lives,
Well, hopefully we don't have to go through other more dramatic change, too, right? Like the collapse of the Roman Empire does follow a lot of parallels to what's going on right now.
It does.
And they didn't just have a little upheaval. They ended because they just didn't hold on to the values that made their society what it was. And they changed so radically that things were never the same. And that seems to be what we're doing, right?
We seem to be on the
culture war. We are losing the
we
culture
are.
war. We're letting other people just kind of take over, which is primary message for 2017 is acknowledge and get involved in the culture war because it's happening. I think that's
it's happening whether we want it to be happening or not, and it's happening whether we get involved or not.
Really is.
In fact, if we don't get involved, then that's
really
the
is.
biggest effect we could have.
Because they know they're in it. They know they're in it.
Oh, they're in to win it, bro.
And yeah, when, for example, the Muslims go to mosque and they talk about their religion, they're very, very clear about taking over the world, basically.
Can I imagine?
That sounds very Pinky in the Brain, but...
Strangely enough, can I imagine getting together 50 or 60 of my closest friends and going chanting for an hour or two about my beliefs? We're not even close to that organized. We're not even close to that in touch with each other. We're a bunch of separate houses, a bunch of yards, fenced-off yards, and people who might or might not know each other through Facebook. And yet these guys, the people who want us dead, meanwhile, they're in rooms full of 300 or 400 of them, and they're all on the same page.
Oh, yeah.
They are focused.
Oh, yeah.
So
No, and
it
then
might
there's
be about time we got a little focused on this.
Yeah.
Because they already are.
Yeah. There's an excellent video that if we put this on YouTube, I'm sure we'll link in the sources, by Ben Shapiro, I believe. And the title off the top of my head is something like the myth of the radical Muslims, or the myth of not all Muslims, or like that. And it's an excellent video. It really has some footage from inside a mosque. Where it's
You showed me this. You
I
showed
think
me
Willie's
this.
seen
Oh,
this.
this
and
was
it's
a
exactly
game
what he's talking
changer.
about. Whereas, yeah,
This
it's
was a
a
game changer
room
for
of
me.
like 400 Muslims, and they really have a talk. And it's odd because the imam, the Muslim preacher, is on the same page we are, in that he's like, on the news they keep talking about how it's radical when we say we don't like homosexuals. And he's like, "What are you all not regular Muslims? Raise your hands. Does everyone consider them a regular Muslims? Are they not?
The entire room raised its hands.
Yeah, and everybody raises their hands, and then he goes on and he just asks some clarifying questions. And he's like, "Does everybody think that the writings of Sharia law and this and that should be followed? Does everybody think that homosexuality should be punished?" And everybody's
Every
raising
hand
their
went up.
hand, and it's all fairly clear, and it makes it all very clear. What's going on with that, and then you only need to see so many trucks driven into so many markets to kind of get the picture that they're very serious about what they're saying.
No, these guys are not bullshitting, bro.
No.
They really are not. They really are not. They believe in what they believe, and it's not good for us.
Well, I think that's a good video, dude. I think that's a good video. That was good footage. This is the Rustwoods. It's a nice area.
Out doing some hippie disc tossing. Good times in the forest.
Oh, put that on YouTube.
Crazy.
Awesome. I'm gonna make a copy of that.